Hello, welcome to this brief rapid fire video around the frequently asked questions that we get about our coach training program. We know it, and you may know it as the ICF accredited postgraduate certificate in personal and business coaching. So here are some of the frequently asked questions we get from people who are first looking at coach training with us. So can you tell us a little bit about the structure of the course and how that works? So here we go. The course is made up of 25 4-hour sessions which will run over Zoom. Typically that would look like 2 half-day sessions a week. And it's worth saying that depending on the cohort, we run some cohorts which are focused around weekday only sessions. We run some which are weekend only, and we run some which straddle both, i.e. you might have a Friday morning and a Saturday morning, for example. So that really is just to accommodate different people's requirements and lifestyles. Overall, from the beginning of session 1 through to the end of session 25, you're talking about a 4-month period of time in total. As part of our program, you join a cohort, that is a group of people, and you are together for the whole of the program. That's a choice we make, we believe, that allows you to learn a great deal from each other in particular and build some very special and very deep relationships that allow you to practice your coaching. The cohorts are no more than 15 people, all right? So we cap any cohort size. You'll never get any more than 15 people in the program. Each taught program that you have, those 25 4-hour sessions, will be led by, facilitated by 2 tutors. We talk a little bit about our tutors in some of the other videos that we've done, but the headlines are that all of our Barefoot tutors actually, at their heart, they are practicing coaches, qualified, accredited, supervised, experienced, talented coaches who are coaching on a day-to-day basis. They also happen to be great educators. So just wanted you to understand, 2 tutors always. And often what that can do is it can help to give you different views of the coaching world and different perspectives on some of the content that they'll be teaching and helping you to get used to in particular. Now, outside of the taught program, there is an expectation that you will also be doing what we call asynchronous learning, but that really is non-face-to-face learning. So what does that include? Well, it includes lots. It includes reading around the subject, watching other resources, listening to podcasts. It includes volunteer clients, which I'll come on to. It also includes simply reflecting critically on what you're learning, getting ready for the next session, consolidating your learning, so to speak. So that becomes really important. On average, I would say if you need to put a number to it, then I reckon 2 hours a week feels like a fair amount of time to be dedicating outside of the taught program itself. So so that gives you a rough idea of the kind of time that's required. I mentioned volunteer clients in there. So as part of the program, we ask that every delegate carries out coaching with volunteer clients. Now, because you're in a cohort of 15, your relationships will build quickly. You coach pretty well from the very first session, by the way. You'll be coaching each other. But there is something incredibly powerful about coaching somebody who is less familiar to you, which is why we require every delegate to work with volunteer clients. So we would ask that you gain a minimum of 13.5 hours of volunteer coaching practice. That is a requirement of the course. To complete the course, you do need to have completed at least 13.5 hours of coaching. That is not 13.5 hours with one client. Typically, we would say that you'll work with, say, 3 clients, and each of those clients would have a 1.5 hour coaching session each. So that would end up with 4.5 hours per coaching client. So that's how you get to your 13.5 hours in total. Many people choose to do more than 13.5 hours, and that's a personal choice, but the requirement is 13.5 hours. One of the other questions we often get about volunteer clients is, where do I get volunteer clients from? This works in a number of different ways. The first thing is usually virtually all of our delegates find coaching clients really effectively through professional contacts, through other social groups they may be in. They find a way of doing that. But if they don't, often we find that within the cohort there is a kind of, not quite an exchange and mart, but there is a way of other delegates saying, actually, I've got a few people I know who would like a volunteer, who would like to be a volunteer coachee. Would you be happy to be their coach? So it can work by the cohorts kind of helping each other out in particular. A few questions about date and whether can you make all of the dates? Yeah, so what happens if you can't make all of the dates? Largely we find that many of the delegates can make all of the dates. And of course we would ask that when you decide to train with us, that you do it in the knowledge that you intend to make all of the dates. However, life can get in the way, things can happen. So we acknowledge that actually for many people, there may be the odd session that you struggle to get to. So by and by, what we say, the rule of thumb is, actually, if it's 1 or 2 sessions out of the 25, then you kind of play catch up. You can kind of go back over the materials, talk and learn from the delegates who are on those sessions, and largely that will be enough. However, if you go beyond missing 2 or more than 2 sessions, then typically we'd want to get a bit closer to providing you with support, because you're at risk at that stage of not having the required training hours to complete the program. In particular, because it is an ICF accredited program, there is an expectation you will have hit a minimum number of hours. But anyway, for the vast majority, that really literally is academic. The vast majority make all of their sessions, and if they don't, they might just miss the occasional one. We're kind of okay with that. There's a question about what qualifications or experience do you need to get the most from the course? Well, in truth, you don't really. I mean, you don't need any specific qualifications or experience. What you need is more of a mindset. It's more about being open to learning, and in particular, adult learning. So adult learning is different, you know, like when we were kids and we were learning, it's very different, because what we do in our environment and with adult learning is we invite you to turn up to the sessions with all of your experience and all of your knowledge. In particular, we invite you to be open to kind of self-critical reflection, driving up new levels of self-awareness. We ask you to put aside any of the strong opinions you hold and be prepared to maybe hold them a bit lighter to explore new ways of being and thinking in particular. We will deliberately introduce kind of states of puzzlement and we'll invite you to stick with not knowing for just a little bit longer than you normally would, depending on what your background and where you come from and your preferences. So it really is less to do with qualifications and experience. It's more to do with mindset more than anything else. There's a question here about, I've heard that I will need to receive mentor coaching. What is it and how does it work? So mentor coaching is simply the act of you being coached around your coaching by a qualified professional Barefoot mentor coach. So as part of the program, there is an expectation that you will receive 10 hours of mentor coaching. 7 hours will be group mentor coaching and 3 hours will be one-to-one mentor coaching in particular. So this is where you will either observe a coaching session or you will actually be observed coaching, and then you will be asked to critically reflect on your own coaching, and you'll receive feedback from a mentor coach around your coaching, all based around the International Coaching Federation core competencies, the coaching competencies of which we build the training program around. So probably, yeah, simple as that. Mentor coaching is simply the act of being coached on your coaching, and that's broadly how that works. We get a question now and again, particularly post-pandemic, which is, will you ever do face-to-face training again? Well, I'd be loath to say no, because that probably isn't true. However, right now I can tell you there are no plans. There are no plans to go back to face-to-face training. We find from the feedback we get from delegates, from cohorts in particular, the experience is fantastic. The convenience and the flexibility is also fantastic. You're not having to travel huge distances for significant blocks of time. However, of course, face-to-face moving to virtual means that it is a different way of learning, and I'm pleased to say I think we've really found our groove. I'm really proud of the way that we actually educate using the virtual environment. We've made changes to the way in which we teach so that you can experience the use of virtual in a really powerful way in particular. So the quick answer is I'd say never, but for now, we're absolutely very happy with continuing the programme on a virtual setting rather than a face-to-face setting. I'm delighted that Kim is here, our founder and CEO of Barefoot Coaching, because this question is one that we do get a lot, and it's this, which is, what advice would you offer me to help me get the most out of this course? So what's the advice you could offer me? Where would you start with that, Kim?
Oh, there are so many aspects to it.
Yeah.
So the first thing I think is to remember that this is an adult learning environment. It's not school or college or university or any other teaching environment you've been in. So lose your preconceptions about that. Here we invite you to bring your whole selves, to bring all your experiences and all your challenge actually to what we are offering you. It's there for debate and discussion. So allow yourself the freedom to put yourself in the role as expert, as well as putting the other people in the role of experts. And that includes the other people in the room. I haven't taught the course for a few years now, but I did teach it for decades. And so often I experienced a sort of compare-itis going on. Oh my goodness, I'm sitting next to someone who's the CEO of a company, or sitting next to someone who's got 3 master's degrees, and therefore I don't know if I've got the right to be here. So we have welcomed you all, and the beautiful diversity of the course will add value to everybody. So those are 2 things that I can immediately think of.
Fantastic.
Were they 2? They're about
I don't know.
16, I think.
They were.
Yes.
They were great. Thank you, Kim. That's fantastic.
Okay.
Thank you.